It's been a good 3 years since Zero Time Dilemma, the previous entry in Kotaro Uchikoshi's Zero Escape series. While the game initially received rave reviews from critics and fans alike, it ultimately became one of the lesser-liked entries due to its shoestring budget and the hiccups in the writing. The same goes for his lesser-known game and anime he wrote, Punchline. While the twists and turns were great, the punchline kinda fell flat. These stories just weren't up to the standards his previous games had. As a fan of his, I've been a little bit on edge with this thing and how it would turn out, especially if that weird ARG campaign the game had leading up to the game's initial pre-delayed launch. Now, as far as the game itself, there is only so much I'm allowed to talk about, but let me say this flat out, Uchikoshi is back in business. The story itself is wild from start to finish, so buckle your seatbelts, ladies and gentlemen, because once the ride starts, it doesn't stop very often. Now let's talk about the little I can say. The game starts off with you being called to investigate the murder of a woman named Shoko Nadami. She's tied up to a merry-go-round with stab wounds in her midsection and she's missing her left eye. While investigating, you hear a weird sound and find a girl named Mizuki, the woman's daughter, holding the murder weapon in her hands. After a long day of investigating, and depending on how certain events go, you end up discovering another dead body with an interesting similarity as Shoko's. The left eye is missing. You play as Date, a crime investigator of the Advanced Brain Investigation Squad, or ABYSS for short. For some reason, the only members you have are of the last 6 years. Anything further than 6 years ago is, oddly, a blank. Interestingly enough, there was also a serial killer case 6 years ago, where all of the victims lost their right eye. You also lost your right eye 6 years ago too. But as Boss would put it, that's completely unrelated to the series of murders where people are being found without their left eye. Anyway, Boss is Boss, and she doesn't go by anything else. She's our boss who is certainly in charge, but for some reason doesn't want to talk about the cases from 6 years ago. You don't travel with her from case to case either. For that, you have your partner of 5 years, Aiba, your AI-enhanced right eyeball. She has the ability to hack into electronics and more or less has complete sentience. Aiba and Date can speak to each other telepathically, whether she's in his head or not. Lastly, in your department you have Pewter, the group's scientist in a way, and as well as Aiba's creator. Outside of them, we have Mizuki, a sassy 12-year-old girl who lives with us because of reasons that actually don't have to do with the death of her mother. And of course, if you watch those ARG videos on YouTube or Twitter, we have Iris, aka Aset, a famous internet idol, and her #1 fan, Ota. The story is told through both visual novel and 3D environmental puzzles. The VN parts are easy enough, after all, it's a crime investigation game. Just look at what catches your eye, and you or someone else will commentate on it. Once you've gathered all the details, the story will push you to move elsewhere. Sometimes you'll be forced to go to the next area, other times you'll have the option to go to multiple locations to get clues. The environmental puzzles are really where things turn up in this game. You see, in this game, therein lies a sync machine. In it, you have the ability to deep dive into someone's subconscious and view their memories to try and get to the real truth and/or overcome a trauma. In these puzzles, you only have about 6 minutes to figure out what's going on, or you'll have to start over again. Interacting with objects will also cost you time, but doing so must be done to solve these puzzles. Also, note that how you solve these puzzles will also affect how the story goes, and don't worry, you'll never be railroaded into one path. If you want, you can always use a flowchart to try and get a different path if you so choose. That said, the answer you find in one route may lead to the answer you seek in another. While the music is okay and the game looks fine for what it is, there's something to be said about the portraits used whenever someone speaks, and that something that has to be said is that, well, they're pretty awful. The portraits just mimic animations of the actual characters talking minus any movement from them, and it makes it look creepy and robotic. I'd honestly just say it would be better for them to not move at all. In the end, even if you're used to Uchikoshi's wild rides, it goes without saying that this one is much better than his last couple of efforts, with this one easily being a strong return to form. If you've never played something written by this madman, you're in for a wonderful experience. No amount of nitpicking or sometimes off-looking cinematography can or will change that. AI The Somnium Files is an incredible experience that I'll still remember years from now. And that does it for our review of AI The Somnium Files. If you have any questions about this game or the review, by all means leave them down in the comment section below. I would love to hear from you guys on this. Also, if you're new to my channel, finding me out for the first time through this review, hey, be sure to subscribe for future reviews, commentaries, let's plays, and more. Also, if you enjoyed this review, be sure to leave it a like. And finally, I'd like to thank all my patrons on Patreon and YouTube members for making today's review possible. And as always, everyone, thanks for watching.